Welcome back. Yesterday we worked to figure out how we can take a number when we've got two digits in one of our place value places and do some regrouping to figure out what it really means. And I bet a lot of you as you were watching said, you know, I see you drawing and using your place value blocks, Mrs. Reef, but it's easier than that. I noticed a pattern. So let's take a look at that pattern and see if we can apply it quickly and easily. We can almost think of it like a shortcut. So I am going to label this page Regrouping in Decimals. All right, so let's start with what we know about whole numbers. I'm going to write that right here, whole numbers. When I'm working with whole numbers, if I had my place value line, if I had ones and tens, so I'll write it like this, in hundreds. Some of you might notice this looks like an HTO chart, except it's a line. If I had a number and I tried to have too many, let's say I had 3 in the ones and 14 in the tens, some of you would look at that and say, well, Mrs. Reef, you can't have 14 in the tens. If I'm adding and I'm in the tens place and I get 14, I know that that next one just gets bumped up. My 1 can't stay there. 14 in the tens means I move it up to the hundreds. This whole number strategy I've seen a lot of you use over and over again in the classroom. And we can think of it the exact same way with decimals. So I'm going to write that right here. If we're working with decimals, I can use my place value line. Let's say I've got my ones and my decimal and my tenths. I'm just going to go out to hundredths this time. If I was given a number, if I was given something like 37 tenths, you guys know I can't let both of those decimals live in that space. And just like we had up here, when I had 14, and my 1 got bumped up, it's the same thing even if I'm in decimals. When I'm looking at the number 37 tenths, that 3 can't stay there. I know it's going to get bumped up next door. And this is going to become 3 and 7 tenths. So our strategy is if I've got too many digits in the tenths place, or in any place, the one that's on the left-hand side, the one that is in the bigger one gets bumped up. It becomes the next place value up. So 37 tenths, the 30 part of it turns into 3 of the next place value up. Let's try a couple more, and then you're going to have a couple slides to practice this. Let's try solving 45 thousandths. I had to figure out what 45 thousandths really means. I can build my line. I've got ones and tens and hundreds. I've got tenths and hundredths and thousandths. And I can take my 45 and I can put it on the line. 45 in the thousandths place. Now I could still draw it out if you like to draw it, but otherwise I'm going to look at it and say 45. The 5 stays, the 4 gets bumped up next door. So now I've got a 4 in the hundreds and a 5 in the thousands. Let me rewrite that so it doesn't look like I crossed out the 5. There we go. My 45 thousandths became 4 hundredths and 5 thousandths. Before I start writing it, I'm going to ask myself, do I have any gaps between my numbers and the decimal? If I have any gaps between my numbers and the decimal, then I need to show the 0 that's hiding there. Now I'm ready to write it. I've got my decimal, 0 in the tenths, 4 in the hundredths, 5 in the thousandths. And because I don't like to have a decimal that's loose, I can put a 0 on either side. 45 thousandths is the same as 0 and 45 tenths, hundredths, thousandths. Sometimes they'll try to trick you. What if I had a more complex one? What if I had 23 ones and 15 hundredths. Now I've got 2 pieces that I need to put on my place value line. That might look overwhelming, but we've got a tool. Let's set up our place value line. Here's my decimal, my place value places. Remember, I can always add more if I need them. Ones, tens, and hundreds, tenths, hundredths, and thousandths. All right, let's start with the first piece, 23 ones. If I try to put 23 in the ones, I can see that's too many digits. I'm going to take that 2 and bump it up. I've got 2 in the tens and 3 in the ones. All right, got it. Let's look at the next part. 15 in the hundredths. Hundredths, put my 15. I can't keep 15 in the hundredths, so I'm going to take that digit and bump it up to the tenths. My 1 in the 15ths became 1 in the tenths because it was a 10 here. And my 5 can stay. My 23 ones is right here. And my 15 hundredths is right here. Now I can write my decimal. Equals 23 and 15 hundredths. So this is the skill you're going to be working with today. You're going to take these numbers and put them on your place value line. If you still feel like drawing it helped you understand, you're welcome to do that. But if you're able to see the pattern, knowing that I can regroup the 40 into 4 in the next place value up, you are welcome to use the bump it up strategy. You decide what works for you. Try it out on the next couple slides.